Hi, this is Kevin Deal from Upscale Audio, and today we're going to talk about, I'm going to talk about the balanced audio technology VK-80 preamp in just a moment, but I got to say goodbye to Charlie Watts. Hallelujah, brother. Oh my God, you know, I love the Rolling Stones. There's 3 bands that I would see every time they come around. Every time they tour, I got to be there. Rolling Stones, Aerosmith, Neil Young. I don't know why. In fact, I don't even really listen to the Stones or Aerosmith that much unless it's on like a playlist. I don't go pull their albums out too much really. But I love their stuff and I love them live. And I got to meet the Rolling Stones. Maybe I'll find the picture to show you. It was so cool. And you know what Charlie Watts said to me? Nothing. He didn't say a freaking thing to me. Nothing at all. However, Keith Richards is using tubes from Upscale Audio in his guitar amp, Mullard CV4004 vintage, so that's cooler than shit. I dig those guys. I mean, I love the Stones. I mean, who's cooler than Keith Richards, right? I mean, come on. The guy is just dripping with cool. Oh, man. Speaking of cool, this is the new VK-80 preamp, and I just really wanted to do something on this because I was talking to a friend of mine that has a hi-fi store and he carries another brand and they raised prices on this other product, right? I go, they did? He goes, yeah. I go, oh my God, because you know, everybody's raising prices right now, right? COVID this, shipping that, blah, 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 blah. And there's a lot of truth to that. I have been affected horribly by that. So I got it, right? I know. And in fact, I know that for some manufacturers, this could put them out of business. If you're shipping big, bulky things right now from China and you're only selling them for $300, you are in trouble. But some companies, I mean, look, I've always said this about preamps, that they kind of annoy me. Preamps are the profit center, tube preamps are the profit center in high-end audio. What does that mean? Look, you can make a decent tube preamp for $1,500. It isn't tough to do. And if people say, oh, it sounds good, well, why wouldn't it? There's no new designs in tube preamps, right? There's no new designs, really. It's simple to do. But what manufacturers do is they'll take that $1,500 preamp parts and then they put it into a bigger box. And you don't know because you're not an engineer and you don't know how stuff is supposed to be built. And they're sure not going to tell you. You know, and I called this one store because I posed as a customer because I heard him say some kind of bullshit. And I go, well, I heard about I was wondering what they would say when I compared this other brand to the brand they were pushing. And I said, you know, the other one, it's got so much more inside the box and it's really good name brand parts. He goes, we don't like to talk about parts here. We talk about making music. Ugh, look, man, if you use the right parts and the right engineering, it's going to make music, right? If you have a minimalist design, then it should not cost more. It should be less expensive, fewer parts. That's just the way it is. So, you know, there's always a lot of stories in high-end audio, and I've always been kind of bugged by that. So if you look at this preamp, and it's not an inexpensive preamp, right? I got it. But it is chock full of bitchin' parts, and I'm going to show you in just a moment what makes this, especially now when people are raising prices, they did not as of yet, and this thing is a 40-pound preamp, and it is badass. I mean, first off, look at it. Look at the metalwork. Look at the details. This is all their new industrial design. It is all done in North America, and if you touch this, it is butter. And you look at how thick the faceplate is, and then this support piece behind it, and look at the way that this has been engraved. I mean, it's stunning, and it's got this weight to it. You know, I see other products that cost this much money, and you can literally push in on the lid and it'll flex. That is not the case here. Look at how heavy it is here on the sides to add support and reduce the effects of things floating in the air. But I mean, it's just super, super bitchin'. And as good as this is, as beautiful as this is, the real magic is on the inside. Because these guys don't cheap out. Look, companies are always talking about, when they sell their preamps, they use this term. We have learned so much from our flagship series that this is all trickle down, right? Well, that sounds really cool when they say that. The only trickling that's going on is when they're peeing in your Cheerios. I'm just going to tell you right now. Because if you look at the facts of what they are saying, it is not true. But it is true here, and I'm going to break it down for you. The capacitors that they're using in the power supply of this are going to be better quality than the capacitors that are in the signal path of some other manufacturers. But what they put into the signal path on this truly is a trickle down. These are their new hybrid capacitors. And I was so shocked by this. Look, this company is not run by bean counters. It is run by Victor Kamenko and Steve Bednarski, two of the most... Victor is such an engineer. Hello, Kevin. Hey, Victor. Hey, man. What's going on? You know how I roll. Hello, Kevin. Yes, we are using a capacitor and then the new transformer. But I love that about him, right? I mean, the guy is the real deal. He is not some poser. And I saw that years ago. Well, I'm going to talk about that in a second when I get to the volume control. Look. These capacitors that are in here, these are a hybrid capacitor. And there's two capacitors in each one of these cans. Now, one of them is one of them is what's called a silver and oil capacitor. And it is most likely the most expensive capacitors that you can buy. In fact, if you were to look at it this way, one of these capacitors would be $8,000 for 1 microfarad. So they take this additional capacitor and then they put it into this container on the other capacitor, and the magic, and this happened through hundreds and hundreds of hours of designing and listening, and that's what they did, and the result is something that is absolute magic. And I got to applaud these guys. Now, right behind these capacitors, you're going to see a bunch of tubes. The ones that are in the center are what are called regulator tubes. Remember that whole trickle down thing? They talk about what we learned in our most expensive stuff, but then when you look at what they put in their cheap stuff, which is 10 grand, it doesn't have it. The most expensive tube preamps are going to have tube rectification or tube regulation. That's what they put in their flagship. That's what BAT puts in here. That's what this board is, and it is dual mono, tube regulation. That means it is a pure tube circuit, and it is absolute golden, and it really comes out in the sound. Now, flanking that is going to be a pair of 6H30s for each channel. Now, BAT was the first company to use 6H30s. They were the guys that really brought it into prominence, and they know how to make this tube sound good. Now, this is what's called a unistage circuit. So it is one gain stage per channel. There's no cathode focus. They don't do anything else. It is as pure can be. 18 dB of gain, which is really, really nice. It's not too much gain. You've heard me talk about that before. Stay away from preamps that have got 27, 30 dB of gain, because you can end up with thermal noise and you can end up with tube noise and microphony problems. Stay away from it. This one is done the right way. Now, if you look over here, you're going to see bitchin' transformers. Okay, look. Transformers are some of the most expensive parts in a preamp. And this preamp is dual mono. It uses 2 toroids, one for each channel. Now, toroids cost much more than regular transformers that other manufacturers use, but they are the gold standard because they don't radiate noise outside of the core of the donut. But manufacturers don't like to use them because they cost more. They're also less efficient, so to make them work right, it takes more material. That brings up the cost. And then you have a third transformer, this one right over here, and that transformer is also a toroid, but that one operates all the logic and the switching circuits and all of that. So they're keeping everything segregated from each other, dropping the noise, dropping the noise, dropping the noise. Don't try to power yourself to good sound. Do it by dropping the noise. Now, you see these boxes here? That is something you're not going to see. I don't think you're going to see that on another $10,000 preamp. These, in lieu of coupling capacitors, Balanced Audio Technology has been using transformers. And again, This new model has new transformers. They are made by Lundahl, Lundahl is the cool stuff. That's the cool company to use. And it is using Cardus internal wiring. It's a new generation of coupling transformers. And the beauty of them is transformers can do magical things, I guess, in lieu of capacitors, if it's done right. But a lot of companies don't want to do it because it's expensive, and to do it right is not that easy. But BAT has been doing it now for a while, and I got to applaud them for that. Back here, you're going to see some boards with a whole bunch of resistors. Now, you're going to get me on my soapbox about this. This is for the volume control. And volume controls can be done. I see products that are 10 grand that use chips that are $2.50. And the customer is never going to know it because you don't know how to identify it. You don't know how to look at the part number and take a picture of it and go to Mauser and look it up and see what it is. You know, that's what I do because I'm a freak about this stuff. They don't do that at BAT. I remember all the way back to the VK-80 preamp. When that came out, it didn't even have a remote. And I remember looking at it and I go, oh my God, it was their first product. And when I saw it, I knew, this was 25 years ago, I think. I knew it was a special company. The volume control was just this clunky, badass resistor network analog volume control. Now they're doing something more modern, and it's controlled by this controller board up in the front that operates these resistors, and it gives you 140 steps in 1/2 dB increments. And the beauty of it now is this. Because of the beauty of a controller board, you're able to raise and lower the volume. You're able to adjust the balance precisely between the two. If you have a problem with one of your source components, you're able to fix and level the output. You're also able to attenuate the output. So what does that mean? If you have a DAC that has a ton of voltage out, and when you switch to your DAC, it blows you out of the room, you're able to fix it in the menu, right? So all of your sources play at the exact same level. You can also take one of the inputs and assign it to be a home theater input. So you can set the preamp to unity gain and use this in a home theater system. So that's really cool. It's got 3 sets of RCA ins and 2 sets of balanced in, and then the output has 1 set of RCA out and an XLR out. I mean, how cool is that? Now, if you look at the remote control, you're also going to see that you're able to invert the phase from the remote. Sometimes recordings are not made right. You heard about this before. And you'll know because when you're listening, you can just reverse the phase and see if it sounds just a little bit better if it is not in what's called absolute phase. You can also fade in and out instead of just muting the music. I mean, it's so cool. You have stereo and mono capability. And then you're even able to name all of the inputs on the front. How cool is that? I mean, it's amazing. So if you don't know what's what, all you got to do is just put names for all of your components so you remember what it is. And then you can dim the display or just turn it off completely if you don't want to see it. I mean, God, I don't know. You know what? I love this stuff. It sounds amazing. It's quiet. It's got body. It sounds like a proper tube preamp. And I'm going to say something. This is expensive, but I would buy this over a $20,000 preamp, take that extra $10K and put it into your speakers. That's the way to do it, right? Right? Get something that is a statement piece, but control cost, take that money, put it into your speakers. Look, do your due diligence. Don't take my word for it. Look inside and see what it is that I'm talking about. Hold us to task. I want to make sure that you support your local dealers. I think every town is better off having a local stereo store and record store. But if not, you give us a call. If you buy this, you don't love it, send it back 60 days. We'll refund every penny of your money and thank you for buying it in the first place. Because at Upscale Audio, we're going to treat your system like it's ours. Thanks.